Very good day to you. It's Howard Copitch here. Salford City Radio, your city, your station. And we're on 94.4 FM. Just played Fast Cars and the kids just want to dance. I've got Stuart Murray. I've got to call him Stuart Fast Car Murray, I believe.
Not really, but that's just the name that I've put on the Facebook site, just to make it different from the normal site, which is just my name.
And you've got a blue T-shirt that says Fast Cars, and there's a website there as well.
Yeah, www.thefastcars.com.
Oh, you're a bit of a show-off, aren't you, really? You're going to do the Duke's reunion. It's 40 years. How did it start
40
off?
40 years.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
How did it all begin?
How did it all begin? What with my band, Fast Cars?
Yeah.
We started at school. A few friends got together, formed a band, as you do. Went on for a year or so playing local pubs, etc. And then our guitarist wasn't quite up, didn't want to do what we were doing anymore, so he left. We got another lad who was with us and is still with us to this day.
Yeah. So the original one didn't want to play in your band.
He didn't. He wanted to do different things because we were more poppy, rocky, Beatles, that kind of thing, where he wanted to be a big rock star, and he did get quite close to it. He did tour America in a rock band, etc. So yeah, but what the music we wanted to do was not the music for him at the end of the day. And Stephen, my brother, who's our singer and writes most of the songs, he wrote that, The Kids Just Want to Dance. His best friend is the lad who was our original guitarist when we very first started.
Now, when I played that track, you said, there was worse to that effect. They think we only do that one. Explain what you mean.
Well, we've got 2 albums out, so there's, about 30 songs, but that was the single that we recorded back in 1979, and that is what everybody picks up on. Whether we've done any other songs or not, nobody seems to notice. They only remember that particular song, and it's on lots and lots of compilations. It's been re-released as a single on 5 separate occasions since 1979.
But did it do well for you?
Back in the day, we probably only had about 1,000 made, so if they were all sold, who knows? It got us a bit of airplay. We used to get played on the old Piccadilly radio. We got played on John Peel's show on Radio 1. One of our claims to fame back in those days, we got played on dinner time programme at Peter Powell. He used to play one song from an up-and-coming band each day about 1 o'clock. And when he played ours, I had friends from all over the place saying, "Oh, you were on Radio 1 today." So that's when you start thinking, oh, we're on our way. But it never happened back then.
You're still here 40 years later.
Still here 40 years later. Yeah, still having to have a real job to supplement the band.
You're beavering away though, aren't you?
We've not done much at all this year. Circumstances. Our lead guitarist, who's been with us since he was 15, has had serious cancer. He's had major operations, and only a few weeks ago he had a body scan to say that it's clear. So we've not been able to take on any work whatsoever this year. The gig back in May was touch and go. He was going to do that, probably sat down because he was not very well, but he's making a recovery now. And the gig that we're going to talk about soon, that we've got lined up in October, we should be back to being normal. We were supposed to play in Spain, a festival in Spain, Tarragona, just outside Barcelona, at the end of September, and then flying on to Mallorca. We had to cancel them, and we're hoping to get them in next year now.
Yeah. Now, you were talking about the Duke's reunion on the 14th of October. It's a Saturday, and it's at the Pendlebury Social Club.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you actually been then, had a look round?
I've not personally been. I'm not sure if our Steve's normally the spokesman for the band, not me, but he's on holiday at the moment. He probably has, but it's the former Pendlebury British Legion. I know exactly where it is. So it's just going to be a big room with a stage, you would imagine.
So who else is on apart from your good selves?
Our very good friend, Michael Sweeney. Michael Thomas Sweeney, he goes
Is that his name?
And the marvellous Salford Jets, which we've played on and off with the Jets since 1978, 79, when we were young lads starting out. We were playing at a pub in Pendlebury called the Butcher's Arms. They were playing across the road at the Duke of Wellington. That's where we very first met.
So how did you get involved with the Duke of Wellington then?
Well, Salford Jets, if they got any other gigs, for example, they might get a gig in London on a Monday night. So rather than they'd go down to London, so they'd always ask us to fill in for them at the Duke of Wellington. That's how we started playing there.
And how many?
We were covering for the Salford Jets and they had many occasions where they didn't play and we would play. So we were not residents as the other two bands that are playing, but we played quite a few times, depping for Salford Jets basically.
So when you were up and coming, did you do that full time or did you have day jobs as well?
All of us had day jobs, and back in those days, day jobs were not easy to come by. So that was possibly one of the reasons we never were never as successful as we perhaps could have been. A lot of people that we knew that did go on to be successful basically up sticks, went to London, toured the record companies, played all the London gigs. For example, we played the Marquee Club in London. We'd go down there at the night, play the gig, clear the gear, drive back to Manchester, half an hour sleep and off to work.
Right.
And it was very tiring.
Yes.
So we did do a few of the London gigs, some of the good London gigs, but we didn't go and live in a squat like some of the bands did and stay there and keep your face in. And we were quite a lot younger than a lot of the other bands as well. At that time, we were like 17, 18. Doesn't seem a lot now, but the others were 20 plus. And those extra 4 or 5 years made all the difference. We'd be finished by the time we were 21, thinking with it we were old guys and that was it.
Also, I mean, your home life was probably as important as well, if you had any home life.
Well, that's it. As I say, because we had jobs, we needed jobs to buy gear, etc., and that's what we did. We carried on working when perhaps others would have just taken a chance. We wasn't that fully confident, I would say, to just jack it and all and go off to London. And because in those days, if you weren't in London, you weren't seen. There was no, although there were bands playing the Manchester scene, it was not like it was perhaps 10 years later when you've got your Oasis, Stone Roses, all those type people coming through. Our time, it wasn't like that at all. Like Buzzcocks had moved away, and because they were like the biggest band at the time from Manchester. They were no longer living in Manchester, as far as I'm aware.
How did you get your record contract?
With Streets Ahead, it was a small record shop in Altrincham, and basically the owner had some spare cash and he wanted to do some things with a few local bands. He put on a few gigs at a social club near to where he lived in Bowden Vale Social Club. And he put a few bands on and we were quite successful there. So he basically offered us a record single deal.
The present style of music, does that sort of offend you, or do you find it just a follow-on to what you were doing?
In what respect?
Like music alters all the time.
Of course, yeah.
So what you were doing in the 80s, etc., is it very different now to you, to your ears?
Yeah, I would say so. I still listen to the music that I grew up with. I still like a lot of 60s bands, 70s, particular music round the genre that we come from, like the Jam, the Clash, that kind of things. Modern music, more computerised sounds, doesn't do anything for me at all.
Is that just an age thing, or because
probably because I think every generation always thinks that their generation was the best.
Yeah, and every so often, you know, the music gets a little bit sort of samey, and then suddenly it alters. So do you think we're on that crest again, where the music's going to change?
Possibly. I really don't know. As for modern music, I'm completely out of touch. I only do and listen to and play what I know. So there's a place, I think. There is a place for everything. And I know I said about playing The Kids Just Want to Dance before, but that is the sound that we made back then. And we were never aware over the years that that's people that actually liked it beyond Manchester. We didn't realise that. But finding it put on an album in Germany in 94, bootlegged in Japan in the 90s, then officially, once we got back together in 2001, we officially had it released in Japan. then in Germany in 2003, and up to June this year. And it's small. We're all talking small labels, 400-500 times a copy. There's a small label in Italy, Breakout Records, that have released The Kids Just Want to Dance, literally 6-7 weeks ago.
And how's that doing now?
It seems to be doing okay.
So what happens? It just gets played on local radio? Or?
It does, yeah. But internet radio stations all the time. Yeah. And we've got quite a reputation via the internet of being one of the bands from the day.
So are you writing new music?
We have done. When we reformed in 2001, we were offered 2 gigs in Tokyo, in Japan. So we went out there and we realised how popular our scene was out there. So once we got back, Stephen started to write songs, and the second album we put out is a mixture of songs from the late 70s that we'd written before, and then songs that he'd written in 2003, 2004. So we put that out. So yes, we are. We've not done any studio work now for a few years, but we have been writing in this century, would you believe?
What century is that?
Fucking merchandise.
Yeah, to remind me, because I'm getting old as well. You know, if I was playing in 1978, I've got to be of a certain age.
I was going to steal it, but you were.
Yes, over the last couple of years, we've been put on several different recordings, from Manchester Punk Volume 1, which came out about 2 years ago, released by a small record shop in Manchester, Final Revival. He followed it up at the beginning of this year for Record Shop Day with his Greater Manchester Punk Volume 2, which was a different track on, which I think you're going to be playing shortly. We played the original Deeply Vale Festival back in 1979, and the main organiser, a chap called Chris Hewitt, put on an 40th anniversary show last year, which we played, and all the sets were videoed and have now been released in a really nice box set. Our colleagues Mike Sweeney and the Salford Jets have actually got their full set on that box that you've got in front of you. Late last year, early this year, we had Cherry Red Records contact us that they were putting together Manchester North of England, a box set that started off as an idea of 4 or 5 CDs, ended up with 7 CDs. And that's a really nice cardboard box, as it says, with 7 CDs in, and a nice book that goes with it, with the sleeve notes all written by Mick Middles, who we came across several times back in the 70s. He used to write for a newspaper called Sounds. He gave us... And The Enemy. But he wrote a review of us in Sounds when we supported the Buzzcocks at Manchester Polytechnic. So we've come across Mick Middles quite a few times over the years, and he's a nice chap.
Your brother writes the music.
He does,
when
most of it. I've done 2 or 3.
Have you done that? So how do you go about it? I always ask this question.
Well, Steve's the best person to ask how he does his, but he generally gets a tune in his head.
I mean, you went to Tokyo and it was quite good. Did that give him sort of a boost?
Yes, because, again, they were into far more obscure music, like ours. They say we're not... Oasis or anything like that, where everybody knows our tunes, but they tended to get into the bands that were not quite there, but there was something about them and they liked. So they were playing us tunes from the late 70s by people, some of them from Manchester, we'd never heard before, and I thought, yeah, that's okay, that's good. So that inspired him to. So the new songs on the new album are very much like the songs from the 70s. He still writes in his same formula. As I say, he gets an idea and just strums about on his guitar to get it together, and then comes to rehearsals and say, right, this is what I want. Craig, our main lead guitarist, is far more musical than Stephen. He would then put proper chords to it, proper lead parts, etc., and build it, and then we'd all throw our own ideas in from the embryo that Stephen started, and end up with a song.
Do you ever play something and you think, well, it's not really my kind of music that your brother writes, and you could tell him that?
I think he's good. He writes the songs that suit the band. He has done solo work where perhaps I don't always like the songs that he's done in his solo work, but they're songs for himself and for a different audience. But if he's writing for Fast Cars, then he writes tunes that are good. Back in, as I say, my history, I was more a rock fan rather than what was punk back in the mid.
So are we talking about like classic rock?
Well, yeah, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, those kind of things. Steve always liked Bowie, and Bowie was always a bit different to the rest.
Edgy.
So when he first heard the Sex Pistols, he thought, this is a bit different, quite like this. So he went out of his way to listen to punk music, the Pistols, the Clash. Back in those days, I wasn't a particular follower. He joined a band called the Sirens, and the three of them went on to become part of the Fall, which is sort of a legendary Manchester band. The lad that got him in the Sirens was Mark Riley, who's been, or still is, a DJ with BBC, etc. And he was with the Sirens for a few months, but they were at the very beginning of their musical career. We'd been playing on and off since we were 14, and we were then 18, so we'd been playing 4 years or so. So we were more accomplished musicians than perhaps those guys were at the time. So I thought, let's have a go at this.
What comes first then, the enthusiasm, or like you said, the accomplishment of being a musician? If you're enthusiastic, will that get you through what you can't do as a musician?
Yes. And I think that's what one of the things that the punk scene actually brought. People that were very basic musicians, the enthusiasm got them recording contracts and got them going. Where, let's say, we thought we were a bit more accomplished, but we liked that energy. The energy of those bands, the speed, and let's say describe what we like. We sometimes like the Beatles, what speeded up and a bit more power to it. So that's what started it all. And once we got going as Fast Cars, I really enjoyed the buzz from what we were doing, etc.
Okay, well, we're still talking about the Duke's reunion, which is going to be on the 14th of October. It's 15 quid to get in. It's not bad, that, is it?
Not by today's standards, I don't think. It's not 70p like it used to be.
Well, but it's not 70 quid either.
No, absolutely not.
And it's at Pendlebury Social Club, 609 Bolton Road, Swinton, M2744J. So that's quite official, that, isn't it?
It is. Again, it's a good venue because it's probably only 500 yards away from the Duke of Wellington building, which you probably know is now a church. Because the building still stands. It's on the same side of the road, but it's just like 500 yards further along. So it's putting us back almost in the same location.
Yeah. Is it just the nostalgia that why you're doing it? Is there a special reason why you want to do it after 40 years?
Well, we have been playing on and off since 2001. So if we get asked, we play. And that's the way we don't make any money at it anymore.
No.
But if we get asked, over the years, as I say, we've been asked to play. We did that initial one where we did 2 nights in Tokyo. We've since followed it up in 2008 with a full tour of Japan, where we played 5 different cities and travelling between them. Bullet train, which is an experience in itself. I describe it as an aeroplane without wings. It's just fabulous. Has to be done. That was just incredible. You'd pay to do that, and we were getting paid to do it. It was just incredible. We've been asked to play a festival in Rome, which we did several years ago now. We've done we did a club in Madrid. We've done a club in Berlin. So all we've asked for is if they'll pay our flights and accommodation, then we'll turn up.
Going over to...
So it's still a hobby in that respect.
What a hobby. Going over to Tokyo, were you bothered about jet lag? Performing well with jet lag?
The very first time we went, we really didn't know what to expect, and it was so humid. Once we got there, Stephen couldn't talk, never mind sing. We were absolutely panicking right to the death whether we would actually be able to perform because his voice had completely gone.
Why is that then?
Probably the air. It was weird because, like you say, very modern hotel that we were staying in. the doors open as we were going to go outside, so we're all nice and cool. It was like walking into an oven. You know, when you open an oven door and stick your head into it and you think, I shouldn't have done that. It's like that all the time.
Planes does it too.
Probably because it's a long flight as well, isn't it? It's 12, 14 hours in a plane.
People have got off flights from the States and what have you, and they can't talk.
That probably never thought of that before, but that possibly was. And we were there one day, and then the next day we were playing, and the panic. But he got through it, and we had a great
I just
night.
watched the film that was out a couple of years ago called Lost in Translation, about a business. Well, he's a star really going over to Tokyo and spending time basically in between his work within this posh hotel, and Tokyo looks quite amazing.
Oh, absolutely superb.
Tell us what you did on your downtime then. Nothing mucky.
Getting lost was the main thing. We thought,
Read Japanese on the signs.
funny enough, not. Like when you go out in Europe, at least it's written in like Roman letters, so you can read that. Even if you can't speak Spanish, Italian, you can get by. You recognise signs. But let's say Japan, totally different. It's like little pictures, isn't it? To us, so we thought we'd spotted a McDonald's. So we thought, we'll use that as a landmark. We can't miss a McDonald's. It turns out there was a McDonald's in every other corner. So we went for a walk around, and we were totally lost, couldn't read signs or anything. But the chap who owned the record company that had taken us out there had given us this card from the hotel. He'd taken off reception and said, get lost, show that to a taxi driver, and he'll get you back. So eventually we conceded that that's what we would have to do.
And what sorts of venues were you doing out there?
Small clubs, perhaps 300-400 people, but they were full. So for us, it was absolutely fantastic. I don't know if you've seen any of the footage that we've put on YouTube.
Yes, I've watched a couple,
if you watch some of the Japanese ones, you can see that the rooms were absolutely full. They were bouncing around. And a lot of them couldn't speak any English to us, yet they could sing all our songs. There was very few that would approach us that could speak broken English, but the warmth and everything from the people, it was just
well, from their point of view, you've gone all that way, just for them.
This is it. They get a lot of bands from Europe, UK and America, so their clubs are quite well set up because they're sort of on an island out there. The clubs have a full back line, so the drum kits will already be set up, bass amplifiers, guitar amplifiers, so you don't have to take anything at all. You can just turn up, and I borrowed guitars from the young lads that were supporting us, and they were more than willing to say, please take my guitar to play. It was just fantastic.
Did you find the young people there slightly different to our younger people, their attitudes and things? In what way?
They're very respectful, and again, the lad who was younger than us, but he's a lot older than the Japanese kiddies that were coming to watch us, because we were playing to like 20-somethings, and the chap who owned the record company was perhaps 30-odd, 40, and he was explaining about the hierarchy and how the varying degrees of bowing to different people. Because they would bow to us in a level, but when he entered the room, they would bow a lot more because he's the owner of a record company. He's got more esteem in society. And then old people, they're almost bowing to the floor. There's that respect, which I don't think our society's got any respect whatsoever anymore.
You might get that.
Exactly.
Japanese people are not noticed for the height, so did you feel quite tall there, or?
Not really. We probably blended in because I'm 5'6".
Can I just say, I've got Pauline Renshaw laughing her head off there in the corner. We can hear her voice occasionally. She's laughing now.
Well, we're all about 5'6", so
because I'm only little.
We're all like 5'6".
I must be
6
Japanese.
Anyway, so. Absolutely,
Got Japanese. Some of my family they look a bit Chinese. My family, they've got that look. Yeah, maybe.
Can you buy all this when we come to this reunion of yours? I like the look of this thing here as well. Well, that's impressive, isn't it?
What I like, you've got
the
box CD.
Manchester, north of England. That costs about £50 for that box set.
It says a story of independent Manchester music, 1997 to 1993.
1977.
70, is that what I said?
No, he
No,
said
he said
97. But
97.
All right.
77 to 93.
Three.
And as
Sorry.
we were playing our singles recorded in 79, it fits nicely onto the
Nice
second.
book comes with it, look.
Oh,
onto
yes,
the
you
second
get-
CD.
get a
Salford Jets were on the
fabulous.
first CD.
Yeah, you've got the Buzzcocks, the Joy Division, Stone Roses. You've got everything here, haven't you?
Absolutely, and that's
What
why we were
fabulous
so
book.
pleased to be picked to be put on that album,
Yeah.
because it's got early stuff from the people that did make it, the bigger names, but it's also got quite a lot of bands that were made a bit of a name for themselves but never went on to be that successful. So it's a real nice collection of music to be put together, and to have again been picked out by a really good independent record label to be put forward for this is really really pleasing.
So, is anybody in your immediate family, I don't mean your brother, but like your kids or whatever, are they into the music scene?
No.
So,
I
what
do
do they
have a
think of you
stepson, but
then?
he's not into music whatsoever. No.
So, what's he think of you? A bit of a, oh, my
I
dad.
don't know. He's never really said, to be truthful. He's never really said. He probably thinks I'm a bit strange.
Well, I'll tell you what, next time you come in, because, I mean, most people, it's just my dad, he plays guitar or he sings or whatever. He's not that, they don't take any notice, do they?
I don't know, there's 3-4 generations of our lot.
Yeah, but you see,
I've subsidised so many Telecasters, not Japanese copies either. And Strats and Gibsons and Gretschers, you wouldn't believe it.
can I say, Pauline, you're not really in the mic, so you're not...
No, I'm just having a toss.
You're just having a little chat, aren't you, really? Yeah. And what about your wife? Does she have any musical ability?
She's watched, I think, nearly every gig since we got married that Fast Cars have done. She likes all sorts of things, from like Barry Manilow to Bon Jovi, so she's got quite a range of musical tastes herself.
I was talking to one guy and he was saying that the drummer in his band, his lady, sits on the front row knitting or reading the paper. It's a bit off-putting, that, I would say.
Well, again, I've managed to get my wife to video most of our gigs, so
Wonderful.
a lot of the footage that you see on YouTube has been done by her.
So
yeah.
she has to like it then, because she's actually made the film.
But she does complain sometimes that all she sees is through like an eyepiece and doesn't actually see the full show, because she's just looking through an eyepiece on a little video camera to capture everything.
What do you think the future is for Fast Cars?
No idea. Next year is our 40th anniversary, been 40 years since 1978.
Real 40, yeah.
Real 40.
Yeah.
Next year, so as I say, we had to cancel those 2 gigs in Spain, so we've been promised that those will be resurrected for next year. We've also been promised a gig that we'd done a few years ago in Berlin, so we'll be doing that. We're looking to perhaps put something on again in this area, and trying to do quite a bit more next year than we've done for several years, as it being our 40th anniversary, because after that we're all getting on. Who knows what will happen?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been to Tarragona myself. It's a major city. It's not a little city. I think it's the main area of that part of Spain.
Right. No idea. I just had contact from a chap that said that this festival was...
Put it on YouTube and I'm sure it'll come up.
Probably, yeah.
It's a really big city.
Well, the festival's called the Bula Bula Festival, and it's in its 5th year, I think, now. Somebody had recommended that they contacted us, and I said they did, and we were all for playing it, and unfortunately Craig was then diagnosed with his illness. We had to pull everything, but say several operations later, and with his scan saying it's clear, then we should be fit for next year.
Well, let's hope he's fit and well. If anybody wants to go to the gig, it's the Pendlebury Social Club. It's the Duke's Reunion, the 14th of October. It's a Saturday. It's 14 quid to get in. Can't be bad.
Can't be bad.
Can't be bad at all. I'm going to thank you so much.
I think it has, yeah.
Gone down a pound, Howard.
15 quid they are. Well, that's inflation for you. It goes the other way with me.
T-shirt, you see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Now-
we sell T-shirts as well.
Right, well,
£10.
if anybody goes, will you promise to do an autograph for them?
Absolutely. Been doing that for the last few years. It's always a bit of fun.
All right. Will you be singing The Kids That Just Want to Dance?
Oh yeah, we have to do it. Even though I moan about it, we have to do it, because
No.
it is the song we're famous
I know
for.
exactly where you're coming from, but that's part of who you are.
Exactly, it is, yeah.
Well, look, I wish you well on the night. I might see you there. Tell Mr. Sweeney to behave himself. He's coming in here in a couple of weeks. So
He always behaves himself.
Is that true? Is that true? All right. I'm going to play images of you.
He's our inspiration anyway, because as I say, he's quite a few years older than us, and he's still there jumping around and everything.
Same age as me.
Well, I was going to say the number as well. He is of a certain age next month, isn't he?
He is.
What date is his birthday? Do we know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I know how old he's going to be.
I might play a birthday tune for him.
Yeah. But he is an inspiration. I saw him only a few weeks ago. They were playing that Deeply Vale Festival with us last year as well. And he's just like he was 40 years ago at the Duke of Wellington. He's still jumping about, still...
He's one of those people,
being the way he's always been.
He's one of those people, he never gets tired, does he?
No, he doesn't appear to do.
Soccer.
I've played football with him.
Then his show on the radio, this is weekend, weekend, and then does gigs.
Yeah,
and he's the same age as me, and I can't keep up.
Well, as I always say, do it before the Zimmer frame, so he's certainly having a go into...
Absolutely.
That reminds me, I've got to put some money in mine.
All right. Thank you so much, Stuart, and I'll see you at the gig.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
When I get home, what do? I switch on my TV to watch you. It stirs my emotion just to see your face. I love the way the dress you got on the face. Images of you, you know, your face smiles out of the wall. Images of you keep me going. I know you didn't trust my age, but that don't seem to worry me. 'Cause in my world the fantasy you make, I believe one of you and baby you love me. Images of you, you know, your face smiles out of the wall. Images of you keep me going.
What's the matter with the clothes I'm wearing? Can't you tell that your tie's too wide?